Review of Narrowbase pouches and holsters. This is an example of my rig. I'll go over all their components. So if you haven't heard of Narrowbase, it's a company that manufactures 3D printed parts specifically for Nerfers. It's not a modified airsoft or real steel component. It is 3D printed specifically to the dimensions of our Nerf products. This is awesome because it's gear for our stuff or our accessories or whatever that isn't modified from an airsoft component. It's not a really bulky pouch that was fit for an M16 mag that's just been modified for a 12-round retaliator mag. It is specifically 3D printed and drafted and engineered for us. That is something that's definitely unique on the market. A lot of people, if you go around HVZ games or whatever, they have airsoft gear on, they're wearing pouches that are not designed for Nerf components, and there's just slop. It is not quite as precise. And a lot of people are willing to fork out money for high quality gear specifically designed for us, and now Narrowbase has done that. This is just one component as an example of an array of options. I'm just going over this in particular. All of these components are 3D printed. You do have multiple color options. I chose navy blue for all of my components because I like navy blue and I think it'll go good with my rig in particular. So check out their website for their different color options to fit whatever would work best with your rig. So a review of the magazine holder. This is actually a double stack mag, so I place in not just one but two right in front of each other. The retention is very tight. It's not a friction fit like somebody else incorrectly stated. Friction fit would be a tapered all around 360 grip on all of the plastic, and that's a really gross feeling. There is some friction around the sides, but that's not actually holding it in. It's the little notch right there, and that little notch clicks into the top of the magazine to lock it in place. These are very nicely fit. I've tested quite a few of the magazines. There is slight variation in the manufacturing of the navy blue component here, and then there's also manufacturing error and tolerances in the actual Nerf mags. I've tested all my magazines, and all of them work well except for the clear mags, and it's really only a concern if you want to run it upside down. As you can see, it does hold in with gravity, but if you bump it a little too hard, it will gradually come out like that. That's only a concern if it's upside down. If it's right side up like this on your chest or on your leg or whatever, it's not a problem at all. I run it upside down on my battle belt like this, and I did really stupid somersaults and was an idiot, and it didn't come out. It's only a concern if it's like that. But all of the other magazines work wonderfully upside down or right side up or sideways or however you want to make them. That's just worth noting because I know a lot of people really like clear mags, but these are built to different tolerances, and it's impossible to design one product that has a snap fit like this to work on all mags. The open top here is really convenient because you can look in from the top and see if you are loaded. This one is obviously unloaded, this one is loaded. And if you've ever run around with magazines long enough, sometimes darts will actually pop up through the lips, and this will actually stop on either side catching the little dart, which is excellent. So you can see how much ammo you have left, or if you're loaded more accurately, and it will also prevent darts from flying out of your magazines if you're hitting bumps or running into stuff. Like I said, the retention is wonderful on all mags except the clear ones, in my experience at least, and I'm just grabbing the navy blue part here. And of course grabbing the actual magazines, trying to flick off the rest of it. The retention is incredible. The only way you can really get this out is if you have a nice linear pull straight down, because that's how the retention mech works. When you pull straight down, it doesn't take that much effort to get out, but it just locks in perfectly. As far as the balance goes of how hard it is to pull out compared to how much strength it has when it's in, this is almost perfect. This particular magazine pouch is designed to fit into MOLLE webbing, like my vest I showed in the first cut. MOLLE webbing works with another piece like this. You do have to order this separately, and it slides through those slots and then interlocks with the webbing. I will go over that in a second. And they also sell the belt holders things. If you don't want to use MOLLE gear for whatever reason, you can attach these little guys by clicking it in through the MOLLE thing, and now that will attach to a belt loop. If you know for sure that you never want to run MOLLE for whatever reason, you can also buy them specifically with a belt holder here. This works like any other belt mounted item. The belt just goes through and it's locked in place. My personal opinion, I would recommend MOLLE, and if you don't have MOLLE gear now, get the MOLLE stuff and then get the clips, because these really aren't that much money, and when you invest this much money in gear, you want it to last quite a while. MOLLE is a superior locking mech for sure. It's more stable, it's just more surface area, and it's not going to move around on you, and when you're lugging around stuff like this, it's just annoying if it rattles, so MOLLE is much more stable, and I would recommend it personally. So again, the manufacturing and all of that is just wonderful, and it definitely attaches to a belt, but the belt moves around on your body, and this is not quite as secure as MOLLE. And that little orange clip is not permanent. It does take pliers to pull it out because it's so tight, and it needs to be tight because if this piece comes off, the entire pouch comes off. So it's very stable, and you can attach that to a belt until you end up buying a MOLLE vest or a MOLLE belt. And magazine holder, the magazine retention is identical across all of their magazine products. This is a single belt loop, and the retention is the same. I'm not going to harp on that a bunch, but again, that will work the same way. This is a single MOLLE pouch, as you can see. So it works the same way as far as the MOLLE gear, but if you can tell, it is offset, and that's for a very good reason. If you want to run 3 MOLLE pouches very close to each other, like the center 3 here, I would recommend getting the offset ones. In the Narrowbase website, it specifically says to do this. But this little offset here allows this piece to get a little bit closer to this, so there's less of a gap, which is wonderful for MOLLE because then you don't have to waste one MOLLE slot as an offset. So it's just more compact and more space efficient. Other than that offset, there's no difference in the manufacturing. The next product is a MOLLE Hammershot holster, which is very cool. It's very small and it does not conceal the blaster, which I really like because I'm going to be painting this blaster and holding it, and I don't want a holster to cover up my awesome paint job. Some universities have concealment rules, so if you have a fully covered holster and only a handle popping out, especially a brown and gray one, somebody might mistake this as a firearm coming out of your hip, like that's how people carry guns. So showing the entire blaster is wonderful because there's a whole lot more orange there, so if it's sitting on your hip, you can clearly tell that's a Nerf gun. I think this design is just perfect. The retention of this also has a snap fit, just like the magazine, but there's also a little bit of friction there. It's a very tight fit. I've done, again, really stupid stuff in my house, somersaults, stupid acrobatics, and could not get any of this gear to fly off of my body. This was a little tight when I first got it, and you have to break it in just a little bit, but I would much rather have it let that way than too loose. So if you can see, the little ridge is specifically designed for the Hammershot. This won't fit any other gun, so it just rides through the thing, and then it clicks at the bottom. As you can hear, and that means it's in. That is a nice, really secure fit. This, if you want to mount it upside down, you can. I don't see any advantage to that, but it's definitely a strong enough snap fit to do so. This holster is specifically designed for the side strike. This has a very similar fit to the Hammershot, where there is friction present, but what's actually retaining it really, really strongly is that last little clip in place, just like all the other products. This one has the MOLLE webbing again, so the MOLLE system, the attachment method is the same. If you've ever attached MOLLE gear on an airsoft product, the attachment method is the same. I'll go over that in a second though. The draw is quick, yet the retention is strong. That balance on this product, the Hammershot holster, and all the magazine pouches are almost perfect. With something that snap fits like this, it's the biggest thing you could mess up, and I've used other products for specifically airsoft stuff that was not designed properly and not really thought out. The person in charge of the engineering here clearly knows his stuff and clearly put a ton of time into getting it pretty much perfect. So when you have a lot of pouches all over your MOLLE gear, you can set it up any way you want because MOLLE gear is wonderful. You can buy a vest separately. The website Narrowbase doesn't actually sell their gear. You can buy that anywhere. And then you can set it up to whatever orientation you'd like for your own play style and your own body size and your own gear. I'll show you how to attach the MOLLE gear. So the concept of MOLLE is to have webbing at a standard interval, which is MOLLE webbing. This is all universally the same size webbing, which means any MOLLE gear or stuff to attach to MOLLE webbing is all consistent. So the concept is to have the webbing here offset from the plastic here, and then it locks in with this little orange bar. You can also get these in different colors. I chose orange because it's Nerf and I wanted orange. But essentially you are putting this through, and over top of this, and this orange bit are the webbing. So it locks in really tightly. So when you press it against the webbing here, you can slide it in. This is really difficult to get on film. I will overlay some photographs to try to articulate what's going on here. And now that's through. That's only one attachment point. They do have two, and as you can see, the different lengths in orange things are for a good reason. My personal opinion, if you're running a vest, get the medium ones. As you can see, they are extending, but that helps in strength because now when you put downward stress or torque on this component, this is actually stabilizing it a bit. But if you're running something like a battle belt where that might just look a little too sloppy for your taste, go with the small ones. These are the small ones here. So it looks a little cleaner, but it's not quite as secure. When in doubt, go a little bigger. It's only going to look a little sloppier, but it's definitely not going to be bad or weaker. And if you want to go super low profile, just get these in the same color as your vest and they'll blend right in. I personally wanted them to pop out a little. Example of a chest rig. This is a pretty popular layout, and some people have the same layout just inverted. I do mine upside down because I don't like the 18 round magazines at the lowest point of this MOLLE vest. The MOLLE actually ends here, so if I put it upside down, it would be closer up to my chest, and I wouldn't be able to move, especially over here. So downward is very convenient for me. My personal rig is 3 double stacks in the center here, and then offset or single stacks. These are not doubles because I like to use my arms. like most people, and I feel like doubles are just a little bit of a hindrance for that. This is just one example of this rig. The beauty of MOLLE and these pouches, you can orient them however you'd like and whatever works for you and your rig. If you want a really high-speed rig, you might not want something this bulky and with this many magazines. You might go with something lighter. This is a battle belt. This is a fully decked out battle belt with a ton of mags. I wouldn't recommend it exactly like this, but it would work. Another option. The Hammershot is also a quick hand in case your primary goes down or whatever. Or downward facing if you prefer that. I do have a little bit more arm movement, but then it also restricts your legs. Pros and cons to every rig possible. There's definitely not a single best way to do it. It's all about what you want out of your game. Yes, I just flipped this belt upside down. That's why the gun's facing downward. This doesn't make any sense. It's an example for the other mags. And this is what my rig looks like without the magazines in place. These are extremely stable on the vest. I've actually tried to pull. I think the webbing of the vest would break before this product or the little orange holder here. But again, super, super strong, pulling from any angle possible. That's not going to come across. Actually, I about ripped off this other MOLLE thing. That's kind of funny. This is a proper MOLLE pouch from Condor. That almost came off on accident when I was trying to pull off the Narrowbase gear. So the Narrowbase gear is obviously really high quality gear. If you're interested in purchasing these components or getting more information, check out the website, link in the description box below. So that's the review of the Narrowbase 3D printed gear. Thanks for watching. I believe they were foam covered in the Z-curve bow, which made it very easy to grip. I'm actually slipping a little bit. I'm not even sweating. My hands are just always sort of a little bit moist. That's kind of gross, but especially if you're nerfing,